Episode 98 of My Hero Academia started out a little bit rough, I'll admit, but man, did it nail it in the end, and seen some kind of evolution in certain abilities, but let's jump into it. Yeah, this episode opens up with Gran Torino contacting All Might. He's like, yeah, you're asking about your trainer. Yeah, she mentioned something about seeing a vision, and she said something to the effect that the person in the vision smiled and said, the time has not come yet. And as this phone call's happening, the match, of course, with specifically Deku, their team versus the other class, starts really kind of ramping up. Deku's kind of trying to get most of the attention on him so that everybody else can kind of capture everybody. And while he's doing this, he gets confronted by my favorite, Nito, the Phantom Thief. And while they're kind of conversing, we already have an idea that Deku knows that they need to kind of avoid any kind of communication whatsoever because of the presence of Shinso. So he's not responding to anything that Nito's saying. And eventually Nito mentions that Bakugo was essentially, him being caught was the reason why they lost the symbol of hope. And this kind of really starts angering Deku to the point where his power starts going crazy and it's shooting everywhere. And then eventually, during this whole scuffle and everybody's kind of panicking, these like almost like stretching arms are just slashing everywhere. Eventually, Uravity jumps in there and tries to stop him, and then she calls out for Shinso to use his brainwashing in order to stop Deku. And then he basically says, I want to fight you one-on-one, and Deku's like, yeah, and then suddenly it triggers and Deku kind of comes to a stop. And here's where things get really interesting because, of course, while he's stopped, he goes inside of his mind and he meets one of the predecessors of the One for All, which pretty much tells him, look, what you were using just now was my ability. And essentially, and again, this is one of those ones where I'm like, did they ever mention this before? Or is this like an evolution of the abilities? Is this concept that there is the original core for the One for All, and as it transfers from person to person, each one of these abilities are kind of being absorbed in it. And Deku, apparently, over time, will unlock each of these previous owners' abilities to become basically one multi-abilitied person. And so, of course, apparently, the current strength that he has is essentially All Might's ability. And then now he has unlocked this other guy's ability, which is almost like these arms that he said were kind of to grab people, but then it kind of evolved over time, and that they control based off of anger, and that he needs to learn how to control his anger. That's why it's going crazy right now, is because he's not controlling his anger. His anger is outbursting. He says, you wanted to grab him, right? That's why my ability came out. You can use this to restrain somebody, basically. And again, he basically specifies that there are 6 other people that you will, slowly unlock, and it's a good thing that you unlocked mine now, because apparently you really want to stop this guy, so there you go. So this was really cool. This is one of those moments where it's like, cool, this is how they can take Deku's ability and start to evolve it over time and give him new abilities that will essentially kind of spice up the show as it goes along. It is kind of funny to think that, yeah, wow, that kind of indicates the writer's intent of, taking this for a long time, because if he's only just now unlocked 2, he's got quite a ways to go to unlock all 8 of them. But yeah, really cool way of kind of, again, evolving his ability. Granted, it's not the most cool ability ever, but it is something. I mean, essentially it is something that, to the guy's point, it's a good thing that he unlocked his ability now, because one of the things that Deku technically is lacking right now is a good way of getting in on people. He can, dart off of things. He can shoot pressure, but range technically is his only area that is kind of iffy. If he's close up to somebody, he's got him. He's got the capability of really punching, really kicking something really hard, but to get to it, it's either using range or trying to dash to it. Whereas now, if something's flying or something, he can easily pull them down to him. So really is a cool ability to, even though I technically booted earlier, technically ability that will accent him very well. So really cool. I have to admit that I had a feeling that something was going to happen to Uravity right here, because it wasn't looking really positive. He was going crazy, and she just jumped in there. This is another one of those moments that just kind of solidify her as best girl in the show. What, hands down, she is so awesome. Definitely, you can see how much she cares for Deku and just charging in there. I was absolutely smiling ear to ear with how, she jumped in there, how he was upset that he harmed her. It sucks that it kind of gets cut short. We had like this real brief moment of like, oh, Deku's realizing how much he means to her, and nope, never mind, we're fighting again. Dang it, Nito, I hate you so much. You ruined a really good, precious moment, man. Why? Yeah, the teachers there during this entire time obviously were about to stop the entire match, but after seeing that he got control again, it looks like Eraserhead was like, no, look, we have to see this to the end, basically. It quickly jumped to Shinso, so I'm not sure if they were implying that the reason why he's specifically saying that was that he wants to see if Shinso can actually finish this, because this is important to Shinso. So, yeah, really, really awesome episode. Like what I mentioned before with how it was kind of shaky at first, but then it kind of turned out really awesome, was that animation really wasn't there for a good half of this episode. I was a little bit, upset by that. It seemed like every single cut to every character was just straight still shots. And I mean, they had this whole point where they were showing the other class's abilities, and the entire time it was like, slide, there's a still, sliding up stills, slide over to this character, still, slide up stills. It didn't really seem like they were wanting to animate much stuff, but you kind of get why that was the case, is because what they did with Deku and his going crazy probably took a lot of animation work to put that together. It looked good, so I can kind of forgive them for that. So we give this Bones a lot of credit for the incredible work they do on this. So having little brief moments where you realize, hey, they're probably taking a break right here, it's understandable. So they can keep doing the great work they're doing. I'm perfectly fine with it. So just it did have me worrying a little bit. So yeah, excellent episode 98 or episode 10 of My Hero Academia season 5. Really incredible. Great to see this new evolution of Deku. Obviously, next episode he's probably going to be very scared to use his abilities for a while. I'm curious how long it takes him before he goes, I can do this and finally use the ability, but we'll see where that goes. But I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions of it. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what you thought. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can, and y'all take care.